with the Olympics. Alex it works for NBC Sports. She's a host there. She also works for the NFL Network, host and anchor at both places. And I always enjoy talking to Alex. Don't get to see you enough. Hello, how are you doing?
Hello from Rio, Eric. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm the same guy holding on for an old man. It's always good talking to you. I'm wondering, how was the experience down there?
So, it's been really interesting. Where do I start? It's a little different than I thought it would be. I think Rio, the city as a whole, quite honestly, is maybe a little more third world than I realized and maybe most Americans realized. But I think that there are many beautiful things about it as well. The oceans, the mountains, the landscape is just gorgeous. The weather's been a little bit mixed. We've had some rain. It's been hot a couple days. It's winter down here, but there's quite a variety. And overall, it's been a good Olympics. I think a lot of the things that you're hearing back at home are true. The traffic's been horrible. Getting around is really hard. They have had some problems where you saw a camera dropped onto a group of people, I believe yesterday, and there's definitely a lot of issues. The sewage problems are real. It's kind of smelly down here most everywhere you go. But then I think some things have been over-exaggerated as well, and I think the city's getting through the Olympics, and from what I've seen on TV, I think they look really beautiful for the people watching at home.
This is something I've always wondered about the Olympics. Beyond all of those issues that you're talking about, this is the Olympic Games. This is your third time doing it. Now, I've been around championship fights. I've been around the NFL, Super Bowl, NBA championships, World Series. I've never been to the Olympics. You've done all those things and seen them. How do you compare the atmosphere around the Olympics to those other sporting events?
Yeah, I think if you can imagine like the Super Bowl going on for a month, maybe that would be what I would compare it to. This is actually the fifth time I've done it, so I've been doing them for 10 years now.
I'm sorry for shorting you on that. I'm sorry.
No worries. But listen, I think, Eric, what's really amazing about it is it's in a different country every time, obviously. So I think that just creates this uniqueness to it that can't really be compared to like a Super Bowl or what we have in the United States. So I think along with this great competition that people wait 4 years to come to, right? The athletes train for 4 years to get here. Along with that, you have like a whole new city and a whole new culture. And so it's different every time because, Rio hosting it in their country and their economic situation and their political situation and everything else is so different than Sochi hosting it or than London hosting it or than Vancouver hosting it. And I think what's maybe a little interesting is that the Summer Olympics, we've had a couple of, really grand Summer Olympics in Beijing and in London. And I think Rio just hasn't been able to afford maybe what those other cities were able to do. So it's been a little bit scaled back, I think, compared to what I'm used to seeing. But it really is like nothing you've ever experienced. And I think what really just strikes me is I did an interview with a young man named Daryl Homer the other day. He's a saber fencer, and he was very close to winning the gold medal, and he won the silver. And afterwards, he was a little disappointed because he really wanted the gold and had an opportunity for it. And he said, I'll be back in 4 years. And he kind of, it just struck me. I was like, oh, my gosh, like you finish a sport and you don't finish how you want. Imagine being the 49ers or the Patriots or whoever, you finish playing in a game, the Carolina Panthers in a Super Bowl, and you're like, okay, we're going to get back to the drawing board and we can go back at it next year. Well, not so fast. You have to wait 4 years to get to do it again.
Yeah, when you put it in perspective like that, that is a tough thing. You're just talking about a sport that I haven't watched a lot of, and you're down there around all of these Olympic games. What sport, has there been a sport or any competition that has kind of sucked you in that you've become a fan of that you didn't think you would ever be a fan of?
Table tennis, which a lot of people know as ping pong. I went over and got to play actually the other day for a story that I'm doing with a young man named Timothy Wang. He's one of our American table tennis players. And we actually got to play, and he got to teach me on the actual venue. So the table that you see on TV, kind of under all the lights in the middle of the arena, I got to play on that with him, and he got to teach me. And it's interesting. I was like, okay, I can do this. It's ping pong, right? We got this in the basement. You play it in the bars, no problem. And, when he was just hitting it back and forth with me, I could rally with him a little bit. And then I was like, okay, show me how you really play the game. And then, he starts putting all these different spins on the ball, and it's coming at me like 50 miles an hour. And I can't even return it at all. But it was interesting for me to learn from him also that he spends 5 to 6 hours a day practicing table tennis, and then he also has 1 to 3 hour workout regime that he does as well. That includes all kinds of things that help him become faster with his reaction time. So he's doing some of the same things that you see somebody like J.J. Watt do when he jumps up onto the box, and things that kind of give him some explosiveness. So it's surprising for me to learn an athlete like that you might not think is investing that much time into their training regime. 8-9 hours a day into training for table tennis.
Oh, that's interesting. Are you going to get a table now?
Well, I did get some pretty good lessons from him, and so I think I might be able to apply this to some people in the U.S.
Okay. Yeah, my wife is big into tennis and into ping pong or table tennis. I'll call it table tennis now as well. So I'm sure she's going to challenge you at some point.
Well, I'll tell you what. I have played tennis all my life, and I got out there and I thought I could. I kept trying to play tennis with it, and it's interesting because it's really unique. It's more of a game that's kind of in your hips and your arms don't. I'm trying to do these, forearms where I'm following through all the way, and it's a little more compact than that. So you got to kind of calm your tennis skills to play it.
Speaking of calming things, I'm wondering about the other athletes, younger athletes, first-time Olympians, when they are around a Michael Phelps. Are they calm, or is he the rock star among those guys that we would imagine that he is?
Yeah, I think my experiences around Michael Phelps have been he's maybe a little bit more introverted than you might imagine during a competition. And I think that's what I've always admired about him is I really don't think I've ever been around an athlete that is as focused as he is before he competes. And I think he just kind of gets into this zone. And you guys, I know you saw the face that he was making in the warm-up or in the ready room that went viral. He was kind of over in the corner there just doing his own thing. And that's kind of typical of him before competition. He really has his routine, and then he kind of does his own thing where he gets inside of his head and listens to his music. And he's just really focused. And I think I've admired it because I know in my own job where I really need to focus, it's so easy for me to get distracted, like on the sidelines when people want to come up and talk to me, or and I'll lose my focus really easily. And he is just into his own thing and really, really focused on the competition at hand. And so I think he's not really like that cheerleader that you might think he is out at the competition. But then I think outside of that, he really is. And I think you've seen him in so many of his interviews here really embrace, I think, kind of becoming a mentor. And you see all these pictures of him with like Katie Ledecky or the one young swimmer that beat him in the butterfly race, had been an admirer of his when he was like 6 years old. He met him, so it's amazing to see these younger kids have grown up and now they're swimming with him. And even Katie Ledecky said that, it's pretty amazing to be on a team with him now where he was once somebody that you really looked up to and admired. It'd be like, I suppose it's like, Peyton Manning, like, when the younger people that are being drafted now probably watched Peyton Manning, maybe even Tom Brady, and now, they're on the same team playing with him. But, I think Michael's just really had an incredible Olympics, obviously, and seems to be finishing up exactly where he wants to finish. And I got to see his wife and his son in our hotel the other day. They were down at breakfast, and so I got to see the little famous baby boomer who's just darling.
Well, Alex, it's great talking to you. Great work. Love the piece on the women's basketball team that you've done and all the other pieces that you're doing. Stay safe down there. Don't go into any of the places that Ryan Lochte has been in, okay?
Well, right. I'm trying not to be out too late at night. I think that's the key.
Okay, Alex, get home safe. Good talking to you.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.